Transcript for all the unseen and never aired Twilight Zone episodes. The Outer Twilight Zone. Episode title, The Gatekeeper. Opening narration, The Guide. Meet Mr. Harrow, a man who believes compassion is weakness, and that walls are stronger than bridges. He runs his department with the precision of a machine and the mercy of one as well. Tonight, he will learn that the gates he builds for others may one day close on him. For Mr. Harrow is about to process a case file stamped with 3 words, The Outer Twilight Zone. Scene 1. The camps. Interior. A sterile office. Filing cabinets stretch into infinity. Harrow stamps papers with a heavy hand. Guards march families into fence compounds visible through the window. Harrow, coldly. Order. That's what I bring. Without rules, there is chaos. Without fences, there is flood. A subordinate hesitates, disturbed by the sight of children behind wire. Subordinate. Sir, they're people. Harrow. They're numbers. And numbers don't cry. Scene 2. The Visitor. A woman in plain clothes appears at his desk. She carries no papers, no passport. Harrow, snapping. Where's your file? No entry without a file. Woman, calmly. I'm not here to enter. I'm here to remind you. She gestures to the window. The camps are gone. In their place. Endless rows of desks, each with man identical to Harrow, stamping papers into eternity. Scene 3. The Judgment. Harrow looks down. His own desk is now inside a cage. The stamp in his hand brands every page with the word, denied. Harrow panicked. No, I'm the one in charge. I make the rules. Woman, voice echoing. You build a world without mercy. Now live in it. The lights dim. The sound of stamping grows deafening. Harrow screams, unheard. Closing narration, The Guide. Mr. Harrow believed that cruelty was strength, that walls are protection, and that cages were order. But in the Outer Twilight Zone, he has discovered that the truest prison is the one you build for yourself. And the sentence is The Outer Twilight Zone. Episode title, The War Room. Opening narration, The Guide. Submitted for your approval. One Generalissimo Kroll, head of the Department of War in a country that exists only on maps drawn in fear. A man who believed that power is measured in parades and loyalty in silence. Tonight, he will call his generals to a house painted white, but the walls may not be as solid as he thinks. For General Kroll is about to discover that the greatest enemy is not across the border, but across the table, in the Outer Twilight Zone. Scene 1. The Summons. Interior. A grand hall resembling the White House, but slightly off. Corridors too long. Chandeliers swaying though there is no wind. Kroll, red-faced, glass in hand, pounds a table. Kroll, my generals, tonight we plan the war that will make us immortal. Raise your glasses. The generals exchange uneasy glances. Their uniforms are immaculate, but their faces are pale, haunted. Scene 2. The general silence. Kroll rants, slurring about conquest. The generals remain silent. One finally speaks. General Varga, sir, the maps are blank. The enemy you speak of does not exist. Kroll, furious. Then we will invent one. A war without an enemy is still a war we can win. The chandeliers flicker. The walls seem to pulse, as though the house itself is listening. Scene 3. The house turns. The doors slam shut. The generals rise, but their chairs scrape like chains. The portraits on the walls, once of past leaders, now show Kroll himself multiplied, each face sneering back at him. Kroll, terrified. What trick is this? Who dares betray me? General Varga, quietly. Not us, sir. The house. The walls close in. The table stretches into infinity. Kroll finds himself alone at its head, his generals vanished. Only his own voice echoes back, distorted, mocking. Closing narration, Rod Serling. Generalissimo Kroll won a war to prove his greatness. He summoned his generals to a house of power, but found himself the only soldier in a battle with shadows. For in the Outer Twilight Zone, the war you wage against truth is always lost, because the enemy is you. The Outer Twilight Zone. Episode title, The Divided House. Opening narration, the guide. Somewhere in the not-so-distant present lies the Republic of Vera, a nation split neatly down the middle. On one side, the right. On the other, the left. Each convinced the other is the enemy. Each certain that compromise is surrender. Tonight, in the halls of their divided house, they will learn that when you spend all your strength fighting shadows, the darkness has a way of fighting back, for this is a Twilight Zone. Scene 1. The Chamber. Interior. A grand legislative hall. The chamber is literally split down the center by a jagged crack in the floor. On the right, men and women in crimson robes. On the left, men and women in indigo. They shout across the divide, their words overlapping into noise. Right leader, you are traitors to tradition. Left leader, and you are tyrants of the past. The crack in the floor widens slightly with each exchange, though no one notices. Scene 2. The summons. A bell tolls. A messenger enters, pale and trembling. Messenger. Leaders. The walls outside are crumbling. The city is falling into ruin. Right leader. Sneering. Lies. A trick from the left. Left leader. Mocking. Propaganda from the right. They return to shouting. The crack widens further. Dust falls from the ceiling. Scene 3. The collapse. The chamber shakes violently. The crack becomes a chasm. One by one, members tumble into the abyss, still shouting slogans as they fall. The two leaders cling to opposite sides, glaring at each other. Right leader, spitting. Better to die than yield. Left leader, snarling. Better to fall than compromise. The floor gives way. Both plunge into darkness. Silence follows. Scene 4. The empty hall. The chamber is now empty. The crack has sealed itself. The hall is pristine, as though nothing ever happened. A single chair sits at the center, waiting. A child enters, holding candle. He looks around, confused, then sits in the chair. The flame flickers, the only light in the vast hall. Closing narration, the guide. The Republic of Vera was destroyed not by invasion, nor by famine, nor by plague. It was undone by the simplest of weapons, the refusal to listen. Its leaders fought so hard to win the argument that they lost the country. And in the end, the only victor was silence, a silence that echoes forever in the outer Twilight Zone. Balanced scale prologue, the guide's voice. This is America, not the one on maps, but the one in minds. A nation divided not by rivers or roads, but by convictions. On one side, the left, armed with progress, protest, and the promise of change. On the other, the right, fortified by tradition, order, and the memory of greatness. Tonight, these two forces will meet, not in Congress, not on cable news, but in a town that doesn't exist. A place where ideology is currency and compromise is contraband. Welcome to the last debate in the outer Twilight Zone. Balance scale. Prologue. The guide's voice. Submitted for your approval, one man. A divider people, a dealer in fear, a craftsman of walls both visible and invisible. He preached separation as salvation, and in doing so, carve a nation into fragments. But history is a strange editor, and memory a fickle publisher. Tonight, this man will discover that the line between villain and hero is not drawn in stone, but in sand, and sand shifts. He is about to learn that the applause of the crowd can be as dangerous as its silence. His stage, the outer Twilight Zone. Mantelpiece Clock episode summary. The episode follows a man who built his reputation on dividing communities along racial lines. He is reviled at his time, but after a sudden national crisis, his rhetoric is reframed as strength and unity. Statues are erected, schools renamed, and his speech is replayed as patriotic scripture. Yet as the adulation grows, he begins to see cracks in the narrative. The statues whisper names of those erased. The crowds cheer in unison but with hollow eyes, and the history books rewrite themselves daily. He realizes he has not become a hero. He has become a myth hollowed of truth, embalmed in propaganda. In the final scene, he tries to speak honestly, to confess his role as a divider, but the microphones distort his words into slogans. The crowd roars approval anyway.